Okay, so speaking of lists, let's jump in to our top movies of 1997. Let's let the guests go first.
Okay. This is one of those where it's like, could shake up so much of this order and it would still be right. So number 10, I have Titanic. The reason I don't have this higher is that I actually prefer the first half. I love the romance portion of this movie far more than the disaster portion. But, I mean, every time that I've watched Titanic, I think I've bumped it up a half a star. I adore this movie. And Best Picture for that year. Number 9, I have Funny Games, which sour look from Brad, but
it's too scary.
It is, as a horror fan myself and someone who loves when a movie can be extremely clever. This movie is extremely clever. It's the only time I've watched a movie and felt the kind of like upset that this movie is going for. There's a specific moment in this movie where I was like, oh, and then it shifts gears on you. Yeah, this movie is just incredible. I have not seen the remake because I just don't want to. Well, I hear that it's really good, but
you've seen the original. You're talking about the original. Okay.
Yeah. Number 8, I've got Cure up there now. Really, really love that. Number 7, I've got Boogie Nights. I'm sure it'll pop up again. I'm seeing head nods. Number 6, I have one of my favorite comic book movies, and a movie that I don't know, like very what's the word? Formative for me. Men in Black. I love Men in Black, and the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, you know what? This movie just absolutely rips. So do you guys share your star ratings when you do your lists?
Sometimes, but Men in Black is my number 17 on my top 20. So you're in good company.
So I've got everything 4.5 up until Men in Black's my first 5. And then at 5, I have Starship Troopers.
Nice.
Which is a fantastic action movie, a brilliant satire. And the fact that people still miss the point just proves the point, that how good it is. There was the whole discourse earlier this year on Twitter about it because of that video game I can't remember the name of, but
the new one,
yeah. But it was really funny to watch some guys do big long threads about why Starship Troopers is not satire, and just feeling the pain.
The idea that a Paul Verhoeven movie would just be about what it's about.
The Born in the USA.
I'm begging you to watch another movie, man.
Yeah, the Born in the USA of sci-fi movies.
Yeah, I love it. Number 4, I have my favorite Miyazaki movie, Princess Mononoke, at number 4. Just a gorgeous film. Absolutely gorgeous. Number 3, I have the most underrated Quentin Tarantino film, Jackie Brown. And then number 2, I just included this film in a video I made today. One of the best psychological thrillers ever made, Perfect Blue, from Satoshi Kon. And number 1 was mentioned earlier. I think Jake, you mentioned this earlier, is LA Confidential, my favorite movie of 1997.
Real quick, I'm just going to mention the ones that you had that are in my 11 to 20. Perfect Blue, I've got at 16. It is my second favorite Satoshi Kon movie after Tokyo Godfathers. Jackie Brown is number 12. And as I mentioned, Men in Black is number 17. So that's one way for me to do honorable mentions, but just 2 more. The Showtime production of 12 Angry Men came out in 1997, starring Jack Lemmon and Tony Danza, Ozzie Davis, and George C. Scott.
The Friedkin, right? Friedkin's?
Yeah, the Friedkin version. It's not the Henry Fonda, Sidney Lumet 12 Angry Men, but honestly, it's not that far off. It's pretty great. The fact that the cast is made up in large part of older actors, I think is terrific. And for a TV movie, it's out of this world. The Rainmaker, because I just saw Francis Ford Coppola on the street in the West Village and it blew my brain out. So I just felt the need to shout him out. He's looking a little bit slow, but he was getting across the street. He made it. And then Con Air, because it's just fun as hell.
That's my 11.
Okay, so my top 10. Number 10 is David Fincher's The Game. I watched this for the first time last year so that we could do our Fincher rankings, and I love it. Everything except Sean Penn, who I just think is very not great in it. Everything else about this movie I think is terrific. My favorite thing that when I watch movies from the 90s now is seeing James Rebhorn show up and thinking about the fact that he wrote his own obituary. I just love that guy, and I love that he did that.
We miss him.
We miss him. My number 9 is Copland. It's one of Sylvester Stallone's best performances. It was like a preview for what Logan would be vibe-wise. James Mangold directed both films, and I just think it's great. Number 8 is Starship Troopers. Just amazing satire. Really funny. Also, he should have chosen Dizzy. It drives me nuts that he chose the wrong girl. Every time I watch it, it drives me crazy. Number 7 is Boogie Nights. My wife and I watched this at my mom's house last year, which was a mistake.
Interesting. Interesting choice.
Yep. I just wanted to know how many times she'd ask me how many characters were missing their legs. So Jake and I were once at my mom's house, and we were watching Iron Man 2, which is when I decided that's the worst superhero movie ever made. And there's a point where Mickey Rourke is just sitting down in I don't know where, in like a locker room or something.
In a cell.
He's got that weird like room in that movie that he's in the whole time. Yeah.
And my mom walks in and goes, "Why is he missing his legs?" And we're like, "What are you talking about?" So anytime my mom was just in town here recently, anytime I talk about watching a movie with her, I have to mention that she asked why a character was missing their legs.
Ain't got no legs.
Number 6 is LA Confidential, one of the best neo-noir films in the modern era. Is this modern anymore? I mean, can we call 97 modern?
97? You're talking almost 30 years now?
I know, but it was like, when I saw most of these movies for the first time, I still remember that. So it's upsetting to me. Anyway, number 5 is Cure, which we've talked about at great length. Number 4 is a movie I love to call out. It's Jonathan Mostow's Breakdown, one of the best Kurt Russell movies, one of the best thrillers. I think this is a painfully underseen movie.
100% agree.
I don't know how to get more people to see it except to talk about it all the time on this podcast.
That movie instilled a new fear in me. I was not afraid of the someone might come along if I crash or break down the side of the road or whatever. Especially when you drive through the desert in Arizona. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Might be JT
so
Walsh.
My dad drives a truck. Oh, right. JT Walsh, terrifying. My dad drives a truck for a living, and just the stories he tells me about people he meets on the road. I mean, this is legit. Number 3, I know, Jake, you won't have it because of how you do release dates for your years. So Jake does the American release date for his movies, but Princess Mononoke is my number 3. Mm-hmm. We watched this in school, so I must have been in high school by the time it came out in America. But we watched it as like an environmental allegory back then, all the more relevant now, and just a terrific movie. Has a lot in common with Nausicaa, which I think is a movie, a Ghibli movie that more people should see. It's one of the better early Miyazaki movies. A lot of them I think are so-so. That's a great one. But Mononoke is way up there for me in terms of Miyazaki's movies in general. Number 2 is my ultimate pet project movie. It's Good Burger. Okay. I'm glad I had a chance to talk about this. Good Burger is good.
This is great. I love it.
Good Burger is surprisingly woke. Good Burger is surprisingly poignant. It is well acted. Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell are both fantastic in it. And now, in the wake of Good Burger 2 being one of the worst movies I've ever seen, I have to all the more so praise Good Burger 1 for not only being good for me as a 13-year-old kid seeing it in the theater, but revisiting it all the time. Plus, the VHS cassette was orange. And that just didn't happen.
Well, it happened with a lot of Nickelodeon.
I haven't seen Good Burger since I was 8. You've got me now saying I should go back and revisit.
Get
Paramount when I'm 8, and I've been watching all that, and I was like, yeah, I love these guys. So it was great for me, but I thought Rugrats in Paris was good.
It's got a great Abe Vigoda role in it. I mean, it's just very... Parliament Funkadelic shows up. It's very good. And then number 1 is The Fifth Element. I already talked about it quite a bit on this podcast, but we're going to do a separate thing for the top 10 too. So Fifth Element, I think it is one of the top 5 best sci-fi movies of all time. It's so much fun. It's the best Chris Tucker has ever been by a wide margin. He just, for once, decided, well, I guess Silver Linings Playbook too, he plays a little bit against type. But aside from that, just allows himself to be the butt of the joke. Bruce Willis is not yet, I feel bad talking badly about him now because of the state he's in, but he had several years after this where even as an action star, even before his troubles, he was just not cooperative as an action star. He was kind of like in this Vin Diesel, The Rock, I don't want to be the on the receiving end kind of character. Not the case. He gets beat up here. It's like Die Hard Bruce Willis with bleached blonde hair. Ian Holm's really good as the priest, and it's got like Mila Jovovich is the hottest person that's ever lived.
As Lila, yeah.
Perfect movie, in my opinion. That's my top 10.
All right. I will also mention a couple that are outside of my top 10, but have come up on this podcast. Like you mentioned, Mononoke, makes my 99 list because that's when it came out in America. Cure would also make my list for 2001 because it took that long to come to America because I guess, we're a bunch of heathens over here. But yeah, some of yours that made my top 20 but are out of my top 10. I have Breakdown at number 18. I have Copland at number 16. And The Game at number 13. So those are all movies I really liked too. And then a couple of my others in the top 20 that I just really like. Waiting for Guffman came out in 1997. And I also have a soft spot for Face Off, which is the dumbest movie ever, but I drew great.
Face Off fell off my list when Cure and The Sweet Hereafter hit my top 20. I mean, okay. It was in there.
I love it.
I have it at 12 right after Con Air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my 15. So it's, it's up there. I really enjoy it.
It shouldn't work, and yet it really does.
I had a video last week which was concepts in movies that are terrible, but the execution's so good that it makes the movie work. And I watched that one. Oh, yeah. Cool! Thank you.
Yeah. Send me that link. I'd like to watch that, Brad. Send me that when we're done.
Yeah,
you got it.
All right. So now we're getting into the actual top 10. My number 10 is a film starring and directed by Robert Duvall. It's called The Apostle. It's a small town preacher who does a very, very bad thing, and he has to move out of town, change his name, and basically, get back to, living a good life, or try to, anyway. Very, very good movie. Interesting Robert Duvall performance here. It was I think it's the last time he was up for a lead actor Oscar. He's been up for supporting a couple of times, but this was his last leading man nomination. Number 9 is a film by Casey Lemons. It's called Eve's Bayou. Starring Journey Smollett, Megan Good, Samuel L. Jackson. It's about a family in Louisiana in 1962. A lot of secrets, lies, betrayals, typical family stuff. But very, very good movie. Samuel L. Jackson is just absolutely phenomenal in this.
Does your family have a lot of secrets, lies, and betrayals? You just call that typical family stuff.
For the movies.
Okay.
Thanksgiving is so much fun.
Yeah. Puts us where we're at now. Number 8 is Titanic, which I agree with Brandon. I think it's just terrific. I actually prefer the second half though to the first half. I'm kind of the opposite.
Okay.
We're like the romance is fine enough for me, but I really think the second half shines. And I think James Cameron just directs the hell out of that second half. The visual effects, I think, still look good today, even compared to stuff that's coming out today. I think Titanic still looks incredible next to even that stuff. So
agreed.
Yeah, I think Titanic gets a lot of hate in some circles, but yeah, I still think it's a great movie. Number 6, Barry Levinson's Wag the Dog. Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman get together to film some fake news, which is a movie way ahead of its time. I've been meaning to rewatch this for a while. It's been a while since I've seen it, and it's been on my list to rewatch. All right, number 6 was also on Brandon's list. I have Jackie Brown. Love Jackie Brown. I also think it's very, very underrated. I think it's better than some of the Tarantino movies that get a lot of praise. More like I think it's better than Reservoir Dogs. I think it's better than Django Unchained by like a lot.
Definitely better than Django. Did I mention that it's my number 12, or did I leave that out?
No, you mentioned it.
You did, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I remember seeing it like 3 times when it came out at the theater because Pulp Fiction was like a formative movie for me, and I remember seeing it on video when it came out. I was like 12 or 13 when it came out on video, so that was the first Tarantino movie I got to see in the theater. So that was like a really, really big deal for me. And then I've seen it multiple times since then. Holds up really well. Love Robert Forster in that movie. He's just so terrific.
Amazing.
My number 5 is Adam McGowan's The Sweet Hereafter. Talked at length about that already today. My number 4 is a movie by Neil LaBute, who directed the wonderful Nicolas Cage remake of The Wicker Man. But before that, he made this great movie called In the Company of Men, starring Aaron Eckhart and Matt Malloy, who are these 2 businessmen who feel like they've been spurned by women. So they make a plan to both seduce a woman who is in their office who is deaf. They choose her specifically because she has a handicap, and they both the plan is that they're both going to dump her at the same time, and they feel like this will make them feel better about themselves. Of course, one of them doesn't quite want to follow the plan, but I won't spoil the rest of the movie. But it's just a terrific movie. Made me hate Aaron Eckhart for a while, but it's just a great performance, probably still the best he's ever given. Now we're into the top 3. 2 of them have been mentioned before. One of them I'm surprised didn't get mentioned at all, but my number 3 is Boogie Nights. Again, been mentioned several times.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the one you were saying wasn't mentioned.
No, not that one. My number 2 is one that,
on our list.
My number 2 is one that didn't get mentioned at all, and I can't stand this actor nowadays, but Donnie Brasco is my number 2 movie of 1997. I love Donnie Brasco. I think Johnny Depp is great in it. Like I said, I can't stand him now. I don't want to see anything that he's in now, but I absolutely love Donnie Brasco, and I love Al Pacino in it. I think it's one of the great and probably underrated mafia movies. And then number 1 is LA Confidential.